To India and Ireland, round Africa and back again. We don't really need to know just where we'll go. Maybe Canada, then to Brazil, then through the Alpine foothills. All I really want to know is, can we go? Oh baby, can we go? Round and around the globe.
Welcome to Take Me With You, episode 77. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Cheryl. We are two well-traveled people who want to go everywhere.
But that's not going to happen. So instead, we'll travel vicariously by inviting a guest to share their unique travel stories with us.
Today we're talking to Lisa. Lisa is an oldest sister who lives in Seattle. Welcome, Lisa.
Hi, folks. Hey.
Welcome back to the podcast.
Welcome
Thank
back.
you.
You don't need a fancy introduction. You've been here before and your family. So, just get on over here and talk to us already.
Yeah, I'll take a seat, tell you all about some travels.
Yeah, I mean, is this your third time on the podcast, Lisa?
Yeah, so I have been a guest 3 times, once with Jeff, my husband. And then also I saw a live podcast in my home when Cheryl and Hillary were recording. Right, so I got to listen from the living room. So that was pretty fun.
Oh, and I think you did say something on it.
Yeah, you're
Because we were
recording.
talking about something and we had you guess what Ryan's wish you were here was or something like that.
Yes,
Ryan did a wish you were
based
here
on-
in Ireland and you were trying to guess based on Hillary and my reactions what it was.
Right, yeah. How tall is that? Oh, was it made of stone? I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah. Yep.
I think I guessed it was a castle, but it was ruins.
Which, close enough.
Close.
Yeah.
And
could
then
be
the
both.
first time you talked about India?
Yes.
Yes.
An EMI, a mission trip to India where I did some design work at an orphanage. And then the
Sweet.
last trip is also with the same nonprofit, going to Tanzania. This trip is a non-mission trip.
Whoa.
Ooh. So
Yeah.
the India trip was episode 20, it looks like. And then the Tanzania trip was episode 52.
Okay.
So in case anyone wants to go back and listen to those or re-listen to
Yeah.
those.
And
This
Hillary's episode where Lisa was it was an exclusive live recording for just Lisa in the audience. And that was episode 63.
So fun,
There you
guys.
go.
When this is all over, the social distancing, you should go to one of their shows. That's pretty great.
Yep, you should definitely come to a live recording. It's something to behold.
Oh, it's just fascinating. Oh my goodness.
So Lisa, we've asked you the same standard interview questions 3 times, I think. Well, twice. But this would be the third time. Would you like another crack at answering our standard questions, or would you like a different set of questions?
Oh, do you have more questions?
I always have more questions.
Oh my goodness. I think I have one more answer to a standard question, but I also am really curious about your questions.
Okay, well, which question do you have an additional answer for?
Oh, what kind of traveler I am?
Okay, go for it.
So I'm a kind of traveler that wants the people traveling with me to have a good time. And so what that means as an adult is usually that I try to poll people ahead of time and find out what's most important for them to do on the trip, and then make sure the planning includes something that accommodates them. So sometimes that's free time to roam around, so that gets into the schedule too. But that I found if I ask ahead of time, then I'm not anxiously looking at the people around me and trying to read them and figure it out in the moment. So, yeah, I'm learning that it's pretty important for me to make sure I'm taking care of the people around me if I can.
So would you say that your level of enjoyment is at least somewhat contingent on the level of enjoyment of the people you're traveling with?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
How
if other
much?
people aren't having a good time, well, it partly depends on how miserable they are. I think it's pretty mathematical. Like if the other person's a -1 and I'm a +5 on enjoyment, then I can like deal with that for a little while. But if the other person's like a -10 and I'm just a 2, then that's no good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's funny because I think I'm exactly there with you of like, I wanted to enjoy this. I don't think you are, which means I'm not. And so unless they're willing to just smile and nod and just be neutral about it. And because like I've had times with Daryl where it's like, he just knows that I love something and he's like, cool, you love it. Great. You know, and then I can continue loving it. But if he's like being a bummer, then I'm like, well, then I don't want to enjoy this because you're not having a good time. And now I care about that. And so, yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. Well, and if the other person's also like me and they can get some enjoyment out of my enjoyment, then me doing something that's not their cup of tea some of the time is okay. I just don't want that to be the whole trip.
Yeah.
That's reasonable.
That's what our dad says sometimes is I'll ask him like, oh, did you enjoy that bird walk that you guys went on or whatever it is? And he'll say like, I loved it because your mom loved it. And it's just
cute.
Like, I know that's the dream. Right. And so, yeah. And I think like, it's nice to have friends and family and people that will do that with you and be like, I'm enjoying you, enjoy this. But then I think I'm the same as you where it's like, okay, now I want to take you to the thing that you really enjoy, you know, so that like both of us can have that experience where we get to really enjoy our thing. So I get it. So you're saying you're still a lot of a planner, but now planning with other people might look like, even if they don't want to plan it, that you need to do your research so you can plan it well.
Yeah. And I plan with people who don't want to plan, but I also want to make sure they get their thing in, and that's sometimes challenging. I haven't traveled by myself much, but sometimes that's easier just because I don't have to figure out what other people want. So, but I don't know. I'd say the people in my life tend to be pretty easygoing and good communicators, so it normally hasn't been much of a problem.
Is that a prerequisite for you to travel with them? They must be easygoing and good communicators.
Or just to know you.
Oh,
maybe so.
Being a friendship with you. Okay.
At least somewhat. Yeah.
Cool. Well, you passed. So good job. She finally got the question right. We had to ask her it 3 times. So.
Oh my gosh.
But you know what? It's all about getting it right eventually, right?
It's all about
take
the
different
process,
amounts of time.
right?
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
Me this time. Because you didn't give me the answer and I figured it out on my own.
So proud.
Thanks. You guys are good teachers.
Yeah, we work real hard at it. Okay, you want a new question? You want a fancy new question? So this one is very context dependent, but how for you has, and not just in the immediate, but I would say just in the scope of maybe the next year, how has our current travel restrictions with the whole COVID-19 thing affected your traveling plans and the way that you think about travel? Not so much like right now, obviously we're staying at home and not going outside, but on a bigger scale, what do you think the impact is going to be on your travel?
Yeah, so I think I've been having a similar conversation to myself that you mentioned in another podcast, Brian, where I had planned to go to Atlanta in the fall. And now I'm like, do I buy tickets? Because I already planned this. And the price the price isn't super low.
No.
But it's not bad either.
Yeah.
And then just deal with the fallout if I have to cancel. I probably will at some point, but I'm kind of sitting on it at the moment, waiting to see. But then I'm also like, okay, maybe if the travel restrictions are lifted, maybe then the prices will go up and I'll have wished I had bought a ticket. So
yeah, well, I will say since we recorded that particular episode, I've still been watching the flights and information on websites and for airlines and things. And most of the major, at least US carriers, they have all extended, and you want to, of course, double check this on any website on your own before you make any purchases. But the websites that I have been looking at, most of the major US carriers have extended their no change fee cancellation sort of a thing. Well, I don't know if it's cancellation, but definitely no change fee through the end of April.
Oh.
So I think April
2021?
30th. No. So if the ticket is purchased by the end of April of this year.
Okay. Oh,
right. And
so
then
it's a good
for
time to
Won't be
travel,
penalized.
right. And then for travel, usually it's within about a year of that date. So like April to April, you can make the change without them charging you the change fee. Now, if the ticket that you buy, if you change it, is more expensive, you still have to pay the difference between those. So there would still be a cost, but typically they charge you anywhere between, depending on the airline and what the flight is, anywhere between, say, $150 and $500 to change a ticket. Okay. And some airlines won't even let you change a ticket, like under normal circumstances. So they're letting you, and usually for like any fare class. Again, check each individual airline to make sure. Sure. Because sometimes the bare bones cheapest is not actually covered by that.
So I usually get the lowest class in Alaska. So I might want to.
Yeah, so you would just want to double check. But I know, at least with Alaska, it's $20 more. Like the difference between the Super Saver and the regular one is $20 per direction. So like $40. And maybe for longer flights, it might be a little bit more, but it's not a huge cost difference to then be able to not have that change fee, which could be upwards of $150. So if you think you may want to shift those tickets or whatever, and I mean, really they're right now, they're just trying to incentivize people spending that money because people aren't even allowed to travel now. So, but you're right. Like once the travel restrictions are lifted, does that mean that ticket prices are going to go back up?
Yes.
I mean, eventually the answer is yes, but I think it's going to also depend on how quickly people start buying tickets.
Yeah, probably not day one, because I think day one, they're still going to be in the mindset of deals and like, please, dear God, just buy tickets so we can, our company can stay afloat, And then eventually, I think when they see that demand, then they might go back up, but maybe not like second it's announced or anything. Yep. Yeah. I just had a good experience with Airbnb. I had an Airbnb scheduled for this last weekend that I had to cancel. We were going to go away for Daryl's birthday. And our Airbnb host, I messaged him several weeks ago. I had booked it months ago. And I messaged the host a couple weeks ago and I said, hey, with everything going on, are you guys still open? What's going on? And he was like, yep, we're still open. We're just cleaning more thoroughly. See you in a couple weeks. And so I got kind of nervous about, well, then if I cancel, like, because he's saying that they're still open, do I get a penalty? And I was trying to figure that out, and then also just not really feeling good about going. And so I decided I'm just going to cancel. And so I started reading Airbnb's website, and they said, if you booked your stay before March 14th, you'll get a full refund. And so I canceled it, wrote him a little note about it, but I don't think it even matters if he accepted that or not, because Airbnb just issued me a full refund. And so they did some great customer support. I think they even I got the refund the next day, or something like that. It was really fast. And that was just great. But then now, if you were to book an Airbnb, I think they're like, no, the situation now. So now if you book it, that's a little different than before we knew what was going on and everything. So,
and I think I read that, because I don't know what it's like to be an Airbnb host, but I think there are also associated fees and things that the hosts pay. And I'm pretty sure that Airbnb also reimbursed the hosts for any of those sorts of things, so that if they had to cancel, so it's not just the guests, but also the hosts got some of their fees or something like that back as well. So I think Airbnb is really trying. I think that's one of the things that I've been overall impressed with, is I think both individuals and businesses have really given people the benefit of the doubt and tried to, have a good faith effort of like, yep, we're just going to assume that you are not trying to work the system or do any of those sorts of things, which is really good. There, of course, have been exceptions to that, but I think for the most part, businesses and organizations, I mean, just the number of organizations that have offered, especially with tech companies like in this area, offered services for free that they normally don't, you know, or extended payments or, you know, whatever those things are, just in recognition for everybody's in a spot across the entire world.
Yes. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, agreed. I think that long term, I'm thinking about if there may be smaller quarantines or travel restrictions, because I've heard people speculating that it could kind of phase in and out for a couple of years. So I still want to make travel plans, but I'm going to be reading the fine print a little bit more about cancellation policies and thinking about contingency plans. So yeah. This summer I'm just planning to go camping in places you don't need reservations, and that was already my plan. So it's like, okay, that's not changing. Cheryl and I are hopefully going to go camping sometime. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But Daryl
we'll
has
run
some
away to the
backwoods
woods.
Spots that
he sure does.
I've never been
campsites.
Camping without an unregulated campsite before, so
it's awesome
experience.
You don't have neighbors. It's really awesome.
Says the extrovert.
Well, I know, but when I'm camping, I'm trying to appreciate like the forest, you know, and the mountains, you know, all that stuff. And so,
and there's always this
not
one
the kid on the
obnoxious
tricycle in front of my
too.
campsite.
And there's always the person that's up early making a lot of noise,
or up late making a lot of noise. Yeah.
All right, Lisa. So what trip would you like to tell us about today?
So I'm going to tell you about, I don't think you know this yet, Ryan, about a road trip I took that took me across South Dakota, among other things. And I saw some of the top like 5 sites in South Dakota in one day. And a cat was on this road trip, and also Hillary.
The cat was also, you need to tell more about the cat to start with.
Yeah. So I can introduce the characters first.
Okay.
You've already met Hillary. She's on your podcast, and Ryan, you mentioned her episode earlier. She's one of my best friends. We met in middle school. She asked me if we wanted to be friends, and that was 26 years ago. We've been roommates for a little while, and been friends all that time, off and on. I visited her, and this is to introduce Cat Ernest. I was sitting on the couch. Ernest the cat. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
She thought his name was Ernst when she first met him, though. And I was like, Lisa, his name is not Ernst.
Oh, okay.
Like
but
the
it
hardware
just
store.
can't be.
Yes, the old hardware store that used to exist. I totally remember Ernst.
Oh my gosh.
Those of you who are young enough will have
that.
no idea what we're talking about. I also have no idea if it was in anywhere other than the Seattle area across the country. But
right, that's true. It's probably local.
Maybe that's why you thought that then. I was just like, his name is not Ernst. It just can't be. I refuse.
no, it must be because because if you've never, Ernest is not exactly a common name either.
Oh.
So if you'd only ever heard the hardware.
Ernest, though.
Ernest Hemingway, yeah.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah, but as a kid, how many of those have you heard of?
But no, Lisa was an adult and thought his name was Ernst.
Oh, okay, never mind.
This was like a couple years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I met him.
Oh, you were giving kid Lisa a lot of grace. No. This was Lisa in her 30s.
No, the cat isn't quite that old.
Okay. I guess I hadn't put together the timeline. Oops, my bad.
Right. Okay, so I met Hillary probably sometime in the 90s. It doesn't matter. I met Ernest in 2015 when I was visiting Hillary. She left the room, and Ernest came up behind me and made a sound in my ear. A sound kind of like.
Cats make weird noises. I love my cat now.
Does Luna make that noise, Cheryl?
I mean, it doesn't sound like the way you do it, but I understand what you're getting at. And yes, she makes kind of a weird noise like that. Yeah.
Okay, so when I make this noise at cats now, they come to me. So it's a cat greeting noise.
How have I never heard that cat noise? We had like 3 or 4 cats growing up, and
That's
I've never
right.
heard that noise.
You've had way more cats than me. I don't know. So specific to
Okay.
a breed. I don't know. Ernest is a part Maine Coon, so he's big and fluffy with big paws and an M on his forehead. M for Maine Coon. So anyway, I jumped up in the air, and that was how I met Ernst. He just tricked me.
Ernest.
Struck up Ernest. I'm going to say it wrong.
Oh no!
Oh no! Later, Hillary's roommate had to move out because she was working at the UW Orcas Island, or actually maybe San Juan Island. UW has a lab up in the Orcas Island, San Juan Island chain. And she couldn't bring Ernest with her to live there. So she left him at the apartment, and they needed to sublet her room. And so Hillary said, well, Ernest likes Lisa, so she should move in here. So I lived with Ernest for a year and a half. I got to like cats for the first time. I didn't appreciate how soothing they could be before living with them. I think my experience was just chasing them around when I was a kid, and I just didn't think they were much fun because they were always hiding from me.
I mean, you have to get to know a cat on the cat's terms. That's for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Turns out you were right, Lisa. Cats are pretty awesome. So.
It took him 2 weeks to sit in my lap, but then once he got used to me, we were buddies. And then fast forward, I moved out of the apartment, and everyone was moving out of the apartment a year after that, 2016. And Ernest had to live in a new home. He couldn't live in the apartment because the apartment was being vacated. He couldn't live with Katie as his original owner. So they decided he was going to live with a friend named Stephanie who just moved to Minneapolis. So this is the start of the story. Ernest needs to get to Minneapolis.
Oh, so Ernest is like the whole reason for this trip.
That's why
Yes.
I wanted her to explain about the cat, because like
Oh my
the
gosh.
purpose of her road trip was a cat delivery. Like
It was
Lisa,
a cat delivery trip. Yes.
Yes.
That's the only one I've done in my life. And I'm a little bit more of a practical person, just in general, and definitely when it comes to animals. At one time I put my parrot on a plane to deliver him somewhere. I wouldn't have hesitated to put Ernest on a plane. I figure it's only a few hours of suffering and then it's over with. But Hillary is very, very tenderhearted. And she was like, no way are we flying him. He's going to be traumatized. We've got to drive him. I'm going to drive him to Minneapolis by myself. And I was like, really? You're going to drive Ernest by yourself? Okay, I'm going to come with you at least to get there. And then she returned on her own. But I participated in the trip out and then flew home.
It's just,
Okay.
it's a movie. Although I don't think
I
you had
know.
enough shenanigans happen.
I
And you're like, this is
know.
a very thin reason that these two best friends are on a road trip together. You know, like, can we come up with a better reason? Nope. There's a deadline on this script. So I guess it has to do with cat delivery then.
Right. Yeah. It's like, well, we need a cat in the car. How are we going to get that to happen?
Yeah. Or we need these best friends on a road trip. How are we going to get that to happen?
Yes.
Delivering
yes.
a cat. Although then I think the cat would have like gone down a river at some point if it were a movie or
oh,
like,
man.
you know,
Yeah, I
like
need to spice this up a little.
Yeah, I don't know if you had enough shenanigans.
Okay, so you drove from Seattle area to Minneapolis.
To Minneapolis, yes, which is a large part of the way across the country, mostly on I-90.
Yeah, because 990 goes, I mean, it ends just a short while after Minneapolis, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you turn north a little bit to get to Minneapolis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was wondering if I-90 I thought it was farther north, but apparently it goes through South Dakota. 94 goes through North Dakota.
Yeah, it looks like it splits at Billings, just after Billings, Montana.
Yes, yeah.
Where I-90 starts to go a little bit farther south and 94 comes off of it to go north. I'm looking at Google Maps, of course.
So I say the benefit of driving is we were able to bring Ernest's stuff with us. So we had his beds, his multiple beds. Cheryl knows how this goes. All the beds and all the toys, and we had the disassembled cat tree filling most
That's
of
really
the
good
back
because
seat.
UPS refuses to ship those things. So I'm glad that you were able to drive them there.
It refuses
It
to
saved a lot of
ship
money, right?
disassembled cat tree. Are you being sarcastic, Cheryl?
I'm being
so
sarcastic.
lost right now.
Yeah, I mean, it really makes sense that they drove because they wouldn't. It's physically impossible to get a cat tree
I see.
to
Yep, that
Minneapolis
is a good
any
point.
other
Yep.
way. Yeah,
gotcha.
and you
Yep.
can't purchase them there. Like
No.
Definitely can't.
No, I mean we all live in Seattle, so I guess we wouldn't for sure, but I don't think they make them anywhere else.
No. Now, you mentioned that you went to the top 5 attractions in South Dakota. I don't know that there are many more than 5 in South Dakota. As someone who has been to South Dakota before,
You have? Oh,
I
wow.
have. So I've probably been. I'll bet you I've been to one of the places that
I
you're
want
going
Ryan
to mention.
guess.
Yeah, what do you think? Well, okay, so if you Google top attractions, every list is different in its order.
Yeah,
Sure.
You can
I
guess
just want
what I
Ryan-
went to.
Without
Well-
Googling, I want Ryan to guess the top 5.
Sure. Well, I don't know if I can get all 5, but I think I can get 3. Well, I
Let's
know I
hear
can
it.
get 2 for sure. And then the third one is the one that I've been to. So
Okay,
Mount
Lisa,
Rushmore.
let's let him do all of them.
Okay, so
Check.
Mount Rushmore,
Yep.
the Badlands, which I think we
Yes.
talked about just recently on
did.
on one of our podcasts.
Emma talked about them.
Yeah, that's right. So those two, I think, like those two are probably the biggest ones that it's most well known for. And then I would say the Corn Palace, which is the one that I've been to.
Yes.
So that would be my third guess.
Uh-huh.
And then for the other two, I'm not really sure what else there is in South Dakota.
So there's Wall Drugs.
Oh, I feel like I've heard of that before,
Lisa,
But I
did you
don't-
just buy some drugs?
but I don't know that
Yeah,
it's something
think we
I care
did.
about. Okay, wall drugs. And what's the fifth one?
the fifth one is Crazy Horse. Crazy Horse Memorial,
Okay,
which is
that sounds like an American history thing.
yes, it's in the it's
Yeah.
also in the Black Hills, just like Mount Rushmore is.
Okay,
It sounds like something that's trying to pass as a national park, but is not a national park.
No, it's on private lands.
Okay,
okay. So
gotcha.
So there were the 5 in South Dakota. Before we talk about those, were there any other notable stops that you made along I-90 before you got to South Dakota?
So most of the notable stuff was about the cat.
Okay.
We didn't do a whole lot before South Dakota. We just drove a lot. But
Okay.
the first night we were driving over the pass in Washington State, in the central Washington State. There was a bunch of mountains, and there was a traffic jam late at night. This was August, so I guess people were getting out of town for the weekend.
Yeah.
And I was in the passenger seat looking to see how long the delay was going to take us, and Google Maps suggested a detour. So it's
Oh, no.
great. Well, look, this road beside the highway, it goes right parallel. We can pick up the highway further down, save a half an hour. This is great. So we got off the highway. It all started pretty good. The sun was setting, getting darker, and the road was level, and then it started to climb a little bit, curve a little bit. Eventually, it was pitch black. The paving ended. We were on a logging road.
Oh. So
The
did
cat
you
was-
continue
yeah.
on the logging road, or did you have to double back?
Yeah. Well, at some point we were like, maybe we should turn around, but maybe that would be, oh, look how far we've come. There's like a sunk
Oh,
cost
that logic
type.
is the worst. Yes.
And it really is kind of accurate, because we would have lost time if we had doubled back, and it was
So you
getting
did
kinda
eventually
late.
make it back to the freeway.
Yeah, we made it. The cat was not acclimatized yet to this drive, and he was yowling and getting tossed back and forth in
Oh,
his
boy.
crate in the truck, and we were just like, oh, he was. It's got to be as bad as a plane ride. I don't know. Got back on the
Did you
highway.
ever point that out to Hillary?
I know, right? She's going to listen to this and be like frowning at the podcast.
Well, she can always call us and leave us a voicemail response if she wants to.
Yes, she can tell her side of the story if she wants.
Yep.
Two sides to every story. So we spent the night at my piano teacher's house, and then the next night we spent at a hotel. My old piano teacher from when I was growing up was in Spokane, so we stopped there the first night.
She does not currently commute to Spokane for piano
No,
lessons, to clarify.
I guess we could do virtual piano lessons.
That's true.
now, but
Yeah.
that sounds fun, actually. But yeah, the major thing in both of these locations is that we did let the cat out of the crate. And both times during the nighttime, he hid somewhere. So in the morning, we had to find him.
Oh, no.
And
That's exciting.
the first morning, he was under the bed. The second morning, he was, those wardrobes in hotels that have a TV in them and drawers, and they're often apparently kind of hollow in the back. So
Apparently hollow.
that's where I didn't know that you could get back there, but I guess if you're a cat, you can squeeze in and nest in the back of a wardrobe.
There you go.
So my first strategy in getting him out from under the bed was a quick grab and just get it over with really quickly, painless. He was not into that. I got scratched. So then I tried the exact opposite strategy, which really, really slowly grabbing his middle to his torso and just pulling millimeter by millimeter. He froze. He had his claws dug into the carpet, but he didn't move. He just passively resisted. So eventually was able to get him out from his spots, get him back in the crate. At some point he stopped eating and drinking. So poor
So
Hillary.
much better than a plane ride, though.
I know. And poor Hillary the whole time was like, he needs to eat. So I'm like, he's fine. I'm so nice.
He needs to eat. He'll eat. He'll be fine.
Yes. Oh, he'll survive.
Oh boy.
But he was.
Okay.
He eventually went to his happy place, so he was just had a glazed expression and wasn't moving for a couple of days.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you made it into South Dakota.
South Dakota. So first we had breakfast with the presidents. There's
The
a
sculpted in stone presidents.
Yes.
Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore. So there's a cafeteria there, and they have a hot breakfast you can get, and then there's a patio outside.
Cute.
Yeah,
What's
I've
it
seen
called?
it in is it North by Northwest? Is that the movie where they go to Mount Rushmore at the end?
Oh, I don't
That
know. I need to watch
sounds
that again.
It's been a long time, though, since I've seen it.
I think it's North by Northwest. Now I'll
just
look.
watched
You keep
Forg
talking,
and-
I'll look.
Okay, yeah. I just watched Forg and Correspondent this weekend, another Hitchcock. Anyway, so that was pretty cool. I think you guys have talked before about the size things are when sometimes they're bigger
Yes.
or cooler than you expect. This is exactly
Mona Lisa versus the Redwoods.
Yes, this is exactly the size I thought it would be.
Oh, interesting.
Nice.
I don't know. Did you get to see it, Ryan, when you were in South Dakota?
No, I was on the other side of the state.
Oh, yeah, it's a big state.
Okay, I'm glad that you're sharing that because I really do want to make a scale someday, like a visual of everything in between Mona Lisa and the Redwoods. And so it sounds like this would just be right in the center.
Yes,
Ooh,
yes.
You need
Would
to
be
start writing
Mount
this down,
Rushmore.
Cheryl.
I know, I do.
Yeah.
I
Which,
like this.
side note, related to this Mona Lisa thing, I posted on my personal social media site about the Mona Lisa this week because Facebook had the memories, and it was, I guess, 11 years ago this last week that I don't think I was there. Well, I might have been though, because it was spring break when I went, and I'm on spring break now. And so posted a picture of the Mona Lisa and was like, yep, still disappointing. And then one of my coworkers who also has been on the podcast, Kristen, she was there I believe last summer, and she posted up a picture of her and her fiance there, and it looks totally different. So they've redone the actual Mona Lisa is the same, but they've redone all the things around it. So at least there isn't this big, giant, stark wall with nothing that like makes it look even smaller from a distance.
Oh, that's such a high ceiling.
I saw that picture, and all the somethings in the background also make it look smaller.
Well,
it's
there's
just less
still-
of a boring wall.
That's true. Yeah, they are still bigger than the Mona Lisa, but I feel like it makes it look, it draws less attention to its small size. I don't know. Maybe I got to go back to the Louvre so that I can actually see.
Somebody commented on yours and talked about how like the wait time was disappointing, and I was just thinking like, oh, I don't think that maybe that's an aspect of disappointment, but I think to me it's just the size. You know, it was just like, but maybe I don't remember waiting in a long line for it though when our family
it sounded like they actually have some sort of queue system now so that everybody can get close, whereas when I was there it was just a mob and you just had to kind of like work your way forward in the mob and then work your way out once you got your picture.
I think we went in 2000, Cheryl, and it was just kind of lots of people milling around. Queue is probably a good idea, although the wait would be annoying. But
Sorry,
that
I
was pretty
distracted
fun.
you. So,
that's
so
fine.
we've got Mona Lisa on one side, Redwoods on the other side, Mount Rushmore right in the middle.
Now we just have to fill in all those spots, and then I'll make a little visual like spectrum of I can't think of what we'd call it exactly. Of disappointment.
Well,
the scale of disappointment.
Of actual size compared to anticipated size.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Objects in the air are closer than they appear.
Exactly.
We'll put dinosaurs on it too.
Yes.
So
you did breakfast at the cafeteria.
Yeah, and then there's this walkway with flags from all the states, so that's kind of fun. And apparently there's a hike you can go up to the faces. We didn't have time for that. We were worried about the cat being in the car, although he was in a parking garage. So
they have a
not
full
too
parking
bad.
garage out there?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, it's a complex.
Interesting.
Wow.
So,
was it crowded there?
There was a fair amount of people. We got there at an opening, so it wasn't as bad, I think. But a fair number of people.
By the way, yes, it is North by Northwest. That is the Hitchcock movie where they
and
go to
what's the name of the
Mount Rushmore.
cafe?
Oh, I don't know. It's just
Mount Rushmore
it's
Cafe.
It's the only building there. It's out in the middle of nowhere.
Good title.
Yes. The only building
so that was
for miles.
breakfast.
Yeah. So and I was trying to think about like I had never intended to go to South Dakota. It wasn't a goal of mine. But I think I would say now that there are things in South Dakota worth traveling there for. Mount Rushmore by itself, maybe not. But I think the Black Hills are very pretty. There's lots of hiking there, which I would love to go back and explore. Lots of history. It's the sacred hills of the Lakota. So we drove through the Black Hills a little bit, like really great scenic drive. We saw the town of Deadwood. Didn't really get out, but it's like the quintessential Old West town.
Ooh, that's fun.
I think the TV show might have been filmed there, Deadwood. But that's pretty cool. And then we ended up at Crazy Horse, which is also a monument carved into a mountain in the Black Hills. Now this one, like I said, it's private land. The owners of the land had in the 1948 decided to commission this carving. So it's one of those things that has, it's enormous. They've been working on it for decades now. It's one of those things that's going to be accomplished, decades from now and even in the future.
So it's not done yet.
No.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so when we went, you could see that the final sculpture is going to be the head of Crazy Horse, and then on a horse ahead of him, like he's on horseback, and then his arms extended and pointing ahead. I think they're
going to carve out that whole thing.
Yes.
That'll be huge.
A gargantuan task. And that one, okay, so for some scale, Mount Rushmore, I looked this up, is 60 feet tall. All the heads are 60 feet tall. Not the mountain, just the heads. This sculpture is going to be 563 feet tall when it's done.
Whoa.
Yikes.
So it's
Wow.
scales and scales beyond. The point of this is that basically the United States government took the Black Hills from the Lakota tribe, and then we carved our presidents into their sacred hills. And so this is to give some representation to the people who lived here. And actually, when it was first commissioned, the chief of the Lakota at the time, Chief Henry Standing Bear, he approved of it, but some of the Lakota didn't because Crazy Horse didn't ever want his image to be captured while he was alive.
Huh.
And also
interesting.
just the idea of carving into these hills was offensive to Mother Nature. And but then eventually the Lakota were all kind of unified by the fact that they also added a cultural center, a medical campus, cinema, all sorts of things to learn about Lakota culture and history. So it's a pretty cool place. Because this is our whirlwind trip, one day to see all of South Dakota. We just pulled into the lower parking lot before the gate where you have to pay. And we looked up the hill. You can kind of see it up the hill from the free area. And then there's a little mini visitor center down there too. But if you pay to get in, they've got laser shows in the summer and a museum. Wow. So it would be worth a trip if you're in that area.
And is it actively under construction?
Yes. Yeah, you can see them. They were working on the finger when we were there, the pointed finger.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Delicate
so it's
work.
kind of like going to the Sagrada Familia.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And I think they use explosives for some of the major rock removal, but then at some point they've got to use manual tools, and that's why it's
to get
taking so
detail.
long. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's pretty impressive, and it's a cool concept. So that was that we exited the Black Hills after seeing Crazy Horse, headed toward the town of Wall, which is where Wall Drugs is.
I've never heard of this in my life.
I think I've heard of it, but I don't remember enough of why it matters.
I don't even know what it is. Is it a building? I don't know what it is.
So if you could picture a small building that just kept getting added to, with maybe like however many different rooms. It's kind of like being in a museum where there's a small room and then you go through that to another room and they just keep going and going.
Really?
But you should go to, both you and the listeners, you should go to walldrug.com. And then if you look at things to do, there's a map of the store. It will give you an idea of all the different areas in the store.
Map.
Okay.
Okay, that looks like a cartoon.
It does look like a cartoon.
It's very stylized. So this was founded in 1931 during the Depression. It started out as a pharmacy, but then they started offering ice water to people driving down I-90 to attract customers, basically. And it took off from then. They added, it still says free ice water on the map. That's still their thing. But they've got a cafeteria. We got bison burgers there. They're pretty good. The dining room had a bunch of Western sculptures. So I'll send you guys a photo of the dining room that we got to see. But then, as you can see from the map, there's a train yard and fossils, Western wear.
There's a
huge
T-Rex?
sections of souvenirs. Yeah, I didn't get to see most of this, unfortunately.
They have a jackalope.
But, yep, they found the jackalope.
But like halfway through this is the backyard entrance and the back alley, and then it keeps going.
Yeah, I guess there's two different buildings. There's a alley between
crazy.
them. There's an enormous parking lot for this place. It's quite a destination.
So this is like in The Sims when I only have enough money to build a small one-room house at first, but then I get more money and then I can add more walls. And then it's like, well, I guess that's an exterior wall on an interior wall now, but like, I guess that's what it's like now. And this room is different. Like, is that what it's like?
Yeah. And it lets, you can see there's like, let's add a store for boots. And then next door, let's put a chapel, like just kind of If someone playing a Sims game and planning out of town, it's a really entertaining place to be. So that is right north of the Badlands. So
Interesting.
Really?
Okay.
going to the Badlands, it's a good pit stop. That's where we got lunch. And another great thing about driving through South Dakota is you can do a loop through the Badlands and end up back on I-90, further down I-90. Kind of like that logging road, but a lot better. And so the Badlands is another place I would love to go back and do hiking. It's just spectacular and so alien. It's like just mostly bare rocks, and the rocks have striations of different colors as they go up, and all sorts of different shapes and sizes. So yeah, I don't know if you've looked at the formation of those, Ryan, but it seems like it would be a really interesting place to study.
I don't know a lot about the geology of South Dakota, but I would get. I mean, I could do a real quick look. I would guess if it's those striations, those tend to be sandstone, but I guess I don't know that for sure.
That sounds right. There's like green and orange and yellow, just gorgeous.
So did we get all 5?
I can imagine. Well, we just have the Corn Palace left.
Oh, then the Corn Palace.
Oh, but on the way to the. Actually, no. This is after Corn Palace is next. There's not a whole lot to do at the Corn Palace. I don't think that out of all the places I recommend people go, that's just a place to go if you're driving by. It's worth a visit if you're on I-90.
Okay, so it's like right off of I-90.
Yeah, it's right. It's in the town of Mitchell, and it's a town like assembly building. Like they have graduations there, and I don't know, conventions and sports, all sorts of different events. Just a really kind of a box-shaped building on the outside, but then it's got these towers and turrets and onion domes. And it was built next year. It will be 100 years old. And every year they have mosaics on the outside made out of corn husks and different grasses from the area. So every year the art on the outside of the building changes.
Okay, that's interesting.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that it changed.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, what did you see when you were there, Ryan? What kind of pictures was it?
Corn. I don't remember. I was a freshman in high school, and it was December.
Who was forced to go to the Corn Palace?
Not even joking, 20 below zero while we were there.
Oh my gosh, if you can tell me the year, I can tell you, because it's on their website. I can tell you what the theme was.
It would have been December of 1996.
Okay, so that was memories. Right. The theme was memories then.
Okay.
Congratulations.
That's pretty apropos.
Well, so thanks for the memories, Lisa.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I went in 2016, and it was Rock of Ages. So we had Elvis on the side.
Oh, jeez.
Some guitars. Some people with microphones.
Wow.
But the cool thing is if you go inside the building on the second floor and walk all the way around the building, there's a photo of every year.
That's cool.
That is interesting.
It's a nice pit stop, I'd say.
Nice.
They're on the road.
It's worth making a stop. That's cool.
Yeah, worth making a stop. So then from there we headed to Minneapolis, and the sunset was spectacular. South Dakota, I think we hit just a really nice stretch of weather because it was August, but it wasn't too hot or muggy. And it was rolling green hills, little picturesque farmhouses and churches with steeples, and just sort of how you think of like the countryside. Like if you
like the Great Plains, kind of.
Yeah, kind of like the Great Plains,
if you're
but
drawing
less
it
flat.
in Pictionary.
Yeah, more like with like a little stream and a lake or things like that, like a little bit more varied than the plains.
Okay.
Sweet.
So that was pretty great. At this point, though, I was feeling pretty awful because we got 4 hours of sleep the first night and 6 hours the second night.
Gross.
And started out maybe a little bit sleep deprived in the beginning. And And I had mentioned I was tired a few times through the day, but at this point I was like, oh man, so it feels like someone's squeezing my head. I'm feeling a little queasy. I started describing how I felt, and Hillary said, gosh, I didn't know you felt that bad. I said, well, I told you I'm tired. And she's like, yeah, but that's not how being tired feels to me. And so this is the first time I ever realized that basic words like that can have different meanings for different people. Mm-hmm. And that we had the same amount of sleep, but we're affected differently. So that kind of led to me realizing I had some differences. 2 years later, last year, I actually got diagnosed with chronic fatigue. And I think that was like the germ of the idea that started that process of looking for
realizing that your experience is different. But that's such an important piece of communication in travel, to be able to share with the people you're with how you're doing and what's going on with you and what you need, and everything. And so,
well, and I didn't want to do it because I thought, well, why would I talk about how I feel? That's just complaining. But when I finally did it, it was actually helpful to do, like at least once.
I'm providing cat sound effects right now too.
Oh, good. Oh my gosh. So Ernest at this point is probably pretty deadly quiet. And late at night, we pulled into Minneapolis. He got to see his new home, which was our friend Stephanie's fiance's home. She volunteered her fiance to be his new owner because
that was
her
generous
roommates
of her.
didn't want a cat. Ernest moved in with Stephanie's fiance, and apparently they hit it off, which was fortunate.
Because
and I got
you drove
to go to
across
bed.
the country to deliver the cat.
I know. I showed up. I was like, oh wait, I thought he was living with Stephanie. Apparently that's changed. Anyway, they're married now, so he's living with both of them. He's to this day he's still a Minneapolis cat. Apparently he's made his home there. I know if he had been, I would have said no to delivering him a year later, I think. But I got a lot of sleep that night, and I woke feeling like a new woman. It was pretty great. And we had half a day in Minneapolis, during which we got to go kayaking.
In Minneapolis?
Yeah. So, Minnesota, they say it's the land of 1,000 lakes.
Okay, sure.
There's full of lakes. There's these little lakes, and then the Mississippi goes through Minneapolis. I was looking on a map today trying to figure out where we went kayaking, and I think between me not driving and being a little sleep deprived, I don't actually know where we went.
Oh wow, you're right. There are just bodies of water everywhere. It looks like when you fly over LA in an airplane and see swimming pools and backyards.
Yes. Yeah. And I also Googled kayak rentals, and there's a lot of them. So that's something I recommend. It was 70 degrees and sunny with blue skies, gorgeous lakes. Apparently 70 degrees and sunny is not typical for Minneapolis in August. It's usually a lot hotter and muggier. So it's kind of like when people come to Seattle and it's nice out there, like, I want to move to Seattle. I was like, it's perfect here. And everyone's like, well, actually, it's usually really hot or really cold. You just got lucky.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's basically the trip. Someone took me to the airport, and I left, and Hillary had to drive home by herself. I think she almost got hit by a twister on the way home, actually.
Yikes.
So,
oh, geez.
Yeah, I'll have to have her call in and talk about that. But she survived without me.
Wow.
So that's my story.
Lisa, thank you for sharing your trip with us. It was, wow, I really felt like I had a cat in my arms during that time. So,
Cheryl, that's because you did.
Oh, okay, cool. I just thought Lisa was really good at weaving her tale. So. We have a couple questions for you. Do you want me to ask them, or do you just want to answer them without? Do you remember them?
Okay. If we could take me with you to one place on the trip, where would it be?
And why?
Yeah, and why? Gosh. I think I would take you guys with me to the Badlands, because I just want to go back and go hiking there. And Cheryl would love the hiking, and I would probably like to look at the rocks. So
Nice.
I think that sounds pretty great.
Cool. I'm so glad that we have the gift of teleportation, so we can just like take our guests and actually go do all these things. It's pretty great.
Yeah, isn't that great?
And Lisa, this is a bit of a sad question for us every week now on this podcast. What's your next trip, or if you don't have one, what do you wish your next trip will be?
Oh, so I think I mentioned earlier, I hope to go to Atlanta in the fall. One of Jeff's friends is getting married, so that's the impetus. I apparently go places for reasons unrelated to me wanting to go there, but then once I start researching, I get really interested. So I've told a couple of people I was thinking about Atlanta, and then I heard about Savannah because of that, which apparently it's like the oldest planned town in the United States, and it's near the water, near the Atlantic Ocean. So now I really want to go to Savannah and spend a few days there exploring old buildings, basically, and food, Southern food and buildings. Nice. Hopefully that works out. We'll see.
And do you have any travel questions for us?
Oh, gosh. How flexible are your bucket lists?
What do you mean?
So I just told you about a trip that wasn't even on my radar, but it ended up being a pretty great trip. How many trips do you go on that are kind of due to something else triggering you into it? That's not a good way to say it.
Not planned because of wanting to go to that place, but for
how many of them are
reason.
Like, I've wanted to go to, a common one. I want to go to Italy and plan for years and finally go to Italy, that kind of thing, the bucket list trip. Or do you change your bucket list as you learn more about other things? Are you okay taking things out of your bucket list? How do you feel about not doing things on your bucket list and doing other things instead?
I mean, I just want to go places. And so, like,
that's your bucket list.
Well, I have a bucket list of like, I really want to go to all 7 continents, and that's still a goal of mine, and I want to accomplish that. And then also, I just want to go see all the things, and so it's like just I think any idea is like, okay, great, let's go. And so even if it's like local things, it's like any place in Washington I haven't been to yet, it's like, okay, cool, let's go check it out, or and so I think that's why even like now being married, I want to go where Daryl wants to go because I want to go everywhere. And so if he has a specific interest in somewhere, then it's like, cool, okay, because it's part of everywhere, so I want to go there. So I don't know. It's I'm open to all of the things. And then I think as far as like removing things from bucket lists, I mean, I think I have a lot of like, it would be cool if I got to go to this place or see this thing. But also I understand that I can't see everything in the world. And that's why we have this podcast. I mean, that's why I said that with a lot of hesitation.
I don't think deep in her heart, I don't think she understands that. But
deep in my heart, that's like the greatest disappointment. Is just I'm this optimist who also like secretly recognizes that there will be disappointment in life, but also is like, but also can I still do all the things? So yeah, I mean, I understand like not everything that I want to do will happen, but I'm just open to all of it. And so yeah, even like Lisa, when your husband passed away 7 years ago, 6 years ago,
7 years ago.
Yeah.
7 in May.
And then you were like, I really want to go to Italy and Spain. And I was like, okay.
That was so fun.
Yeah. It was just like, all right, great. I'm in. Let me save up some money and then let's go, and so
that was when you fell in love with Spain, I think.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah. And so I think just if I have a person I want to travel and they want to go to a place and I can get the time off and get the money, then I'm in. So yeah.
I hear you. Yeah, I really like the phrase, it would be cool if, or wouldn't it be cool if, that you say, Cheryl. I asked Cheryl's advice a little while ago about how to daydream, how to kind of try to be a little bit more of a visionary, because that's a really low strength of mine that I'm trying to work on. And she said, okay, say, wouldn't it be cool if, and then fill in the blank. And just as a journaling exercise or as a thought exercise. And that's been really helpful for me. Actually, that's what my phone's name is. Wouldn't it be cool if?
Really?
Right now. Yeah. So that's how it shows up on Bluetooth. Wouldn't it be cool? It's a good reminder.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. I just regularly say that phrase in life, and I didn't realize it until you asked me that question. But
yeah, we can all learn from each other. It's something that doesn't occur to me.
Yeah.
Ryan?
You're going to be disappointed. You're both going to be disappointed. I don't have a bucket list.
Oh, that's totally fine.
I mean, but you want to go to Antarctica.
Yeah, like there are things that I would like to do, but I don't know that I necessarily have things where it's, I have to do this thing before I die. Like when I think of bucket list, I think of these are musts. I must do these things before I die. And I don't know that I have that for really any part of my life. I have a lot of things that I would like to do. Right.
I mean,
and
I think
that list is
just means,
extensive.
I think that just means that you're probably a healthy human then, because we also don't know what we're going to actually have time or means to do in life.
Right.
And so I think just saying I would like to do these things, I think you certainly have your travel priorities. I think you are capable of prioritizing. Like, I would rather do this one than that one or things like that. But then also just taking opportunities when they come.
Yeah, and I think there's a little bit of a definition question there, too, about what exactly is a bucket list. Like,
sure.
Yeah, because I think I kind of have one, but it's pretty loose. So maybe a little bit more like what you have.
Would be how we would all call it then.
But I also don't want there to be something where I'm like, oh, I'm going to be, my life's not worth it if I didn't do these things. Because I think that there's so much that I couldn't plan that could be even better that I want to be open to.
Yeah. Well, and like you guys said, too, I think, you know, like Lisa, you said, once you start researching a place, then you find out all these things about this place and then you get excited about going there. And I think that's definitely something that I've run into as well, where there are a lot of places that I think would be cool to go. There are some places where I already know a little bit more about what's there. So I have a higher level of interest in going there. But even just from this podcast, I've learned so much about places that I didn't know a lot about. And that makes me more interested in some of those places than I would have already been. Right. So I think it's less to me about all of these places that I really want to go and more about cool places to go when the opportunity presents itself. And since there are so many places, and I don't know that I'm like you, Cheryl, that I really want to go to all of the places in the same way that you do, but there are definitely lots of places that I would like to go. And I don't know that I have a huge ranking system of, well, I have to do this one and I've got to do this one before this one, because it's dependent on who am I going with? Or what's the timing and how long can I spend and what's my budget? You know, all of those things factor into what's realistic and what's practical. And I mean, while yes, I would love to go do all of these things, I really am a fairly practical person. And so I think that ends up being a big determiner of what things I actually end up doing versus just the things that would be cool.
Yep.
I hear you.
That's fair.
Good answers, guys.
All right. We are going to go ahead and transition into the last part of the podcast then that we have traditionally called Wish You Were Here. But we've been feeling kind of sad because we keep hearing about all these great trips and then we add all of these places that are really cool to go and see. And we can't go to any of them right now because a large part of the country is under some form of lockdown because of COVID-19. So we're going to change this up just a little bit for right now. And we're going to change it from wish you were here to wish you'd stay home, because really that is one of the best things right now that we can do to help keep as many people healthy as possible, is to just stay home. But just because we're staying home doesn't mean we can't still get exposure to some of the really cool things that are out there. So we were talking before we started recording, and there are a lot of different places like museums and concerts and venues and things that have started to make their resources available online, so that while we're home, even though we can't go places to experience things live, we may be able to still have a taste of those experiences that then may get us excited to go there once all the travel restrictions have been lifted. So each of us is going to share a stay-at-home virtual attraction, something that you could do, something that's cool that we can do while we are staying at home. So Lisa, what would you like to do for your wish you'd stay home?
So the silver lining of this time for me has been able to work out every day, which was a goal before this, but was hard to fit into my normal life.
Yeah.
And a good resource for that has been some days I use the app called Down Dog. So Down Space Dog. And it's a yoga app.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about how it works?
Yeah, typically I think it's a subscription app. But for the month of April and May, it's made itself free for anyone who wants to use it.
Cool.
To support people who are staying at home. I haven't used that many yoga apps, but I really like this one. You can select difficulty level. I think there's maybe 6 levels of difficulty and areas of focus. So I selected neck stretches, how long you want the workout to be, the kind of music, and the accent of the voice that's talking to you. So I have an Australian accent. It's pretty great. And then after you put all this information in, you start the workout, and it generates a workout based on all the input you gave it.
Cool.
And then there's also a video for it. So I think they must have pre-recorded someone doing all these different moves, and it gets stitched together for individual workouts. So it's really easy to see what you're supposed to be doing on your phone or TV or whatever. Pretty easy to use. One thing I was worried about with using online resources was just repeating the same workout over and over again, and that hasn't been an issue with this app. So I recommend it to anyone who wants to try yoga at home.
Love it. That's awesome. I've been meaning to check it out. I downloaded it on my phone and have not done it yet because I've been focusing on walking a lot, which is great.
That's great. Next rainy day,
I do want to
maybe.
be doing, next rainy day or just evening or morning activity sometime. Yeah, that sounds so good.
You can just do like a 15-minute routine. There's all sorts of different time lengths you can select.
That's great because sometimes I feel like I don't have an hour to do yoga right now.
Exactly.
So I like that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Lisa.
Yeah.
Cheryl, what about you?
I'm going to share about a show on YouTube that I have been enjoying. It is called Some Good News, and it is by John Krasinski, and he films it in his home, and it is just lovely. I'm a pretty positive person, and in general, just kind of like look on the bright side, enjoy things, have a good time. And then there's times when I hear about a lot of the negativity going on where I feel like, oh no, should I be worried? Or like, is this really going to be that long and all these things? And then sometimes that's good for me to process. And then sometimes I get in my own head and get really sad about things. And so remembering to focus on lovely things going on and just people loving each other well is great. And so John just treats it like a news show, but filmed in his home, and his daughters made the logo for him on the wall. And but he's like in a suit and everything, and like turns to different cameras, and it's just super cheesy happy, and just sharing about like really sweet things that is happening in humanity right now. And in the first episode, Steve Carell is on it too. They like video chat with each other and remember good times at the office, and they have like clips playing, and Steve is teasing John that like he was like, below the camera, you're not wearing a suit. And he was like, nope, I'm wearing jammies. And so it's all just like so sweet and lovely, and just real feel good. So I'd recommend that.
Nice.
How about you, Ryan?
I've got one that Cheryl, I think you're going to like.
Oh, boy.
So mine is also a YouTube related one. So if you're familiar with Alton Brown, who did the show Good Eats way back when on the Food Network, and actually I believe has rebooted that very recently within the last year.
He's your kind of cooking instructor.
Oh, he is, because he goes into the science behind it. Yep.
Is he a scientist who cooks? Is that what it is?
Do you not know Alton Brown, Cheryl?
I know of him. I don't really know his deal though, or anything.
And he's also got the whimsical silliness that Ryan likes too.
Oh, nice.
Yep. Perfect.
So it's like if Professor Honeydew was cooking or something like that.
Exactly.
Maybe a little bit. But he has a little mini series that he's doing right now called Pantry Raid. So he's going through and taking things that you probably just have in your house already and saying, here's something that you can do with it, right? Like
Cute.
he did one about how to make peanut butter cookies that I actually tried to make because I was like, oh, that's easy. I can do that. Because I don't cook very much because I don't really like it because it usually feels more complicated than I want to put effort into. But I was like, peanut butter. I love peanut butter. And that looked easy. So I actually tried them and made them. And like he did one about how to make onion dip. And he did one about making good rice, cooking rice well. And like just like all of these things. And so he's posting, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 a week. I'm not 100% sure. But they're short, 10 minutes or less. 5 minutes, something like that. And it's just delightful. And I enjoy his sense of humor as well. So
that sounds so good. I have been trying to challenge myself to go through pantry items and use them before doing more grocery shopping. And, it's a good opportunity to be like, oh, I bought that. And apparently I don't regularly use this. So I guess I should eat it and then not buy it again.
Yeah.
Or just there have been staples that I've been very happy that I had. So, both. Awesome. Nice. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for being on our podcast this week.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Yay. Do you have anything that you want to plug?
Yeah, I'd like to plug some of Beth Morell's work, who's the artist who did your logo for your show.
She has a different last name now, though.
Oh my gosh, she does. She got married actually about a year ago.
I was going to say, I think today actually might be the 1 year anniversary.
Yes, it is. Happy anniversary, Beth.
Happy anniversary, Beth.
Well, today, the day we're recording, not the day that this is being released.
Fine. She probably doesn't listen. It's cool.
Oh,
Beth, she had too much podcasting with you. So she did some coloring pages, so like blackline sketches that you can pay to download and color if you're looking for something to do at home or something for kids in your house to do. And you can find them at sheldoncomics.com, so SHELDON comics.com. They're just at the top of the main page. A really cute there's one of Gandalf saying "You shall pass." I don't know if that's a reference to school right now, but yeah, that's my plug.
All right. So that is going to kind of be the end of our episode here. We would love it if you would follow us on social media. We are at TMWY Podcast for Take Me With You Podcast on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And hopefully Lisa will share some pictures with us and we can see some pictures from her cool road trip, maybe even of the cat.
Yes, there's definitely some pictures of the cat.
Of course there are.
So follow us on social media to be able to see those.
It's very expressive cat pictures.
You can also email us at timwepodcast@gmail.com. Send us your guest suggestions, or right now we would love if there's like a travel show you super love. Tell us about it. We'd like to hear about that. Something at home that you are really enjoying right now would be great too.
You can also call us and leave us a voicemail at 406-763-8699. Or if that's easier to remember, it's 406-POD-TIMWE. So Hillary, if you would like to make any corrections to Lisa's account of the tale, you could always call us and leave us a voicemail.
Spice it up, Hillary.
We would also love it if you would rate and review the podcast, as well as subscribe to make sure that you do not miss any of our new episodes, as we are clearly still making episodes, even in the midst of all of our travel restrictions. And we would love it if you would share about this episode on social media so other people can travel vicariously through our guests, since we are all, for the most part, stuck in our homes right now.
As always, thank you to Beth Reed Miller for the use of her awesome artwork. You can check out more of Beth's artwork at Beth Is Something. And thank you to Erica Corbin for the use of her song Round the Globe. You can listen to Erica's music wherever music is sold or streamed.
Lisa, thank you so much for sharing about your road trip through South Dakota with us.
Oh, my pleasure. It was a fun evening.
Yay!
Thanks for listening.
Absolutely. That's it for this week. So until next time, remember to take me with you.
Take me with you.
Take me with you.
Can we get a sailboat chasing down the sunset as we float round and round the globe? Salty air and balmy nights, guided only by the lights above, and a little love. Oh, the world is out there waiting to